Please welcome BAFTA and Academy Award nominee Ciarán Hinds. Great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And congratulations on that Oscar nomination.
Yeah, well,
that's a thrill.
My dad used to have a saying that, my father had a saying that used to go, "The world is going to hell in a handcart." And that's what he might have thought about it.
My understanding is that you found out soon after you had gotten the part, or maybe right before, that you were Judi Dench approved. Judi made it known that she was on board with this casting. How did that all happen?
Yeah, I'd always wondered about that woman. You know, I mean, I think it's evident to the world in its entirety how brilliant she is and how magnanimous she is as a human being. The truth is, she's a hell of a rebel, you know, and that's what makes her brilliant. It is. It's really how she takes the work so seriously, but not herself. And she has that gift of not just experience, but of being raw enough to be able to turn on a sixpence and at the drop of a hat change into something completely different. And in fact, having been given her approval for me to play her husband, it was very interesting because we decided between the pair of us, like, one of us would age up and the other one would age down, and we'd meet somewhere in the middle.
It worked.
And that's where we ended up. And we found out that we got on famously. I think we'd only met once before, just the once, in passing. But obviously I'd seen her a lot on stage and on film, and was highly enamored of her work.
I'm sure. I love the character of Pop. He is so quick with wisdom. Do you share that quality, would you say, in your life?
I'd say I'd be about several million miles away from Pop when it came to wisdom, to be quite honest. I've tried dispensing odd nuggets of what I think is wisdom, and they fall on deaf ears. No, I know, it's a very long thought, but I have memories of my own folk, my own people, dropping little pearls at you, and they usually turned out to be incomprehensible. You know, because it's wisdom handed down from another generation who may have heard things from their parents. So actually, the advice of the wisdom you get is coming from medieval times. You know, handed down, handed down, handed down. And then you wonder, what am I supposed to make of that? But you know it's done with good grace. You do know it's done with good grace. And that somewhere in there, if you can decipher it, it might help you along the way.
Well, but the way that you deliver it, it's always so sincere, organic, and natural. It never feels glib. I'm wondering what the trick was to that quality of Pop in the way that you played him.
I don't know if it's so much of a trick, and I wouldn't rely on my technique such as it is all the time, but it's in the words, in the script, the scenario that Ken had written. There are such gems of rhythm and language that are so soft and delicate, they almost pass you by. They're just spoken in a way, but they're set out there to inform an audience, but also to inform the other characters in the scene. But they're written, in my view, with such deftness and with such class, and yet with, at the same time, such ruggedness and truth, that I guess the idea for me was to try and just absorb that language into myself and let it out in the most truthful way that I could. And then when you find yourself mostly playing with that wonderful gift to the world, Jude Hill, you know, who's just so extraordinary, that young fella. You know, he's a genuinely, he's a beautiful boy, beautiful young man. He's intelligent, he's intuitive, He's gifted, he listens, he's interested in things. And then when you're in a scene working with him, what emanates from him actually informs you sometimes of how you want to deliver something, because the wisdom that Pop is giving and trying to help him, and he's lived quite a bit and he knows how rough it can get, Pop. He wants to give him the advice, but not to have too much weight on his shoulders. And to drop these little things at him, but to give him enough strength that it will be serious, but not to make the weight too heavy on him, I think.
When you're making a movie that is so inspired by the life of your writer and director, Ken Branagh, and you're playing a character that is inspired by his own grandfather, I'm sure that you had many questions for him in rehearsal and pre-production. What happens when you're actually on the set and something occurs to you that you would like to ask him for clarity or clarification, but he has 15 jobs that he's doing as the director of the film? Do you say like, oh, well, I kind of missed my chance? Or do you try to kind of find your way in to get a moment with him, even though he's busy directing the film?
Oh, you're suggesting I might say, "Oi, Branagh, get over here."
Yeah.
Now. No, that wouldn't. No, that wouldn't be me, and I think that might quite surprise him at the same time, because he has enough to be getting on with. I mean, Ken did say at the beginning when we met, the idea that it was to concoct a family between us, between who we were. I guess I've never debated it with him, but I guess why we were chosen because of some innate gifts we have. And hopefully that they would all mix, and somewhere in the mixture that it would all harness itself into a unit of a real family. And he certainly had no intention of asking us to give vague impersonations of what his grandfathers or parents might be like. I think he was more interested in capturing the soul and the heart and the essence of the time of those people, but based on his remembrance and his heart seen through the eyes of a 9-year-old. So in the end, he mostly, if he had to say something very gently, he'd just drop a word in, walk away, and hopefully that we achieved what he was going to look for when he saw it through the camera. Yeah.
Do we ever learn what Pop's given name is?
No, it could be Norman. Could be, well, it could be a load of things. I'm not going to go into that.
When you think back to 40 years of film work, from Excalibur to now, yeah. Where does the experience of Belfast rank for you?
That's a ridiculously hard question, Dave. Thank you. Where does it rank? Apart from number one. Well, then it's hard to me to be asked by Ken to understand what this work is, to understand the writing intrinsically, that I think I did, just because it brought me back to my roots. I'd been away working in all different things. It brought me back to my roots, to my family, to memories. It has made a lasting impression. Will always be, in a way, what Katrina said, part of us, because it's our soul. It's our people, in a way. But you know, also I've had the great joy of working like extraordinary people like Steven Spielberg and Paul Thomas Anderson and Martin Scorsese and all these. I don't know, somehow I end up there. Like, I don't know, I walked in a door and there I was. But it has been extraordinary. But this ranks up with me, and Ken's work in directing it, in sort of conducting it and harnessing it, putting it all together, from the camera work, from the editing, the brilliant editing of Una Ganili, and the costuming, the whole thing. When I see what Ken does, our responsibility is to meekly, to the best of our abilities, serve him for the thing that he has created and open it up. That's our responsibility.
Well, you've done it, and you've earned the first Oscar nomination for it, and we're all so excited for you. Ciarán Hinds, everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Moving on to another film that I just adore, Coda, starring the fabulous Emilia Jones. Let's take a look at her work.